Okay, chapter 16 of the Master Puppeteer, last chapter, Debts of Honor. As Jiro and his mother walked on either side, leading Kinji back to the Naza, Asako forced out the story between sobs. I took your father to the country, but you knew that. Jiro nodded. He told me his lungs were diseased. I believed him. Why should I not? He has always been an honest man, hasn't he? Have you ever doubted him? No, Jiro said. He told me to come back to Osaka, so I obeyed. It was reasonable. Even the farmers are short of food, you know. Everything that goes to the daimyo or the tax collector, it's criminal. Why should a farmer's children starve while the rice brokers grow fat? Why? Jiro shook his head. I don't know. It doesn't seem right. Doesn't seem right, his mother said. It's criminal. That's what it is. They had no food for me. I didn't want to leave your father. I thought he was sick. But he insisted, so I came back here. It would have been all right. I would have managed somehow. But then one day in the early spring, I saw him. Saw who? Jiro asked. I saw your father, fat as a feast day, walking down Dodomorbi. Laughing he was, and talking to a group of street people, not our kind. I called to him, and I was sure he heard, but he pretended not to hear. He went on walking down the street, his head in the air. I would have run after him. I should have. I should have grabbed him and made him come home. I was starving, and he was laughing and happy. I went sort of crazy after that. She hung her head. You remember, I'm ashamed for your sake. Jiro shook his head. No, you needn't be. We have both deserted you. What could you do? If it had not been for this boy, she laid her hand on Kinji's arm and began to cry once more. Come on, little mother, Kinji said. We've canceled out our debts. No, Jiro, don't listen to him. No one will ever know what I owe this boy. Taro went to the Hanazo to get you, but it was Kinji who came to look for me, to get me safely home. I was with them. Yes, I'm so ashamed. I understand, really I do, Kinji said. But what you don't understand is what happened, the sacrifice. Asako's voice broke. She could not go on. Your mother has the fault of many women, Jiro. She is incurably romantic. It was not my magnanimity, but my stupidity that caused this. Kinji lifted his arm so that the sleeve fell back from the bandage. No, he was coming after me. I was entering the house of Subu, the rice broker. You know the firm. Kinji called me, but I wouldn't come back. She shook her head as though she could not believe her own actions. I was insane, determined to steal some rice, or at least to destroy the beastly Subu, so that he could no longer fatten himself on the entrails of starving children. Can you understand? But, Kinji interrupted, you must get a true picture of the scene, Jiro. You know what a fluff brain I am. I went racing toward the house, all gallant hero, the blood of my warrior ancestors running through my momentarily noble veins. I didn't even see the policeman, and needless to say, he didn't wait for us to be formally introduced. He cut off Kinji's hand. Asako's voice was shrill with the horror of it. He took me for a thief, little mother, and who knows, given 5 more minutes, I probably would have been. He was a little hasty with his justice, that's all. He was a monster, she said. Do you know what I did then? Kinji did not wait for a reply from Jiro's frozen face. I fainted dead away like some sickly female. Ah, the ghosts of my ancestors must be crimson yet with the shame of it. Jiro's hand flew to his eyes as if to shut out the unbearable scene scrawled on his brain by Kinji's mocking voice. So then it was up to poor Asako to rescue me. Kinji. She apparently marched right back into Subo's house and like a magistrate demanded hot coals to stop the bleeding. When I came at last to the few scenes I seemed to possess, she had burned the wound like a proper physician and bound it up with a length of her own undergarment. And since it was evident that the whole lot of us were about to be arrested, she ordered 2 of the luckless night rovers to carry me to the constabulary and charmed a police assistant out of his padded garment to cover me with. He shook his head, smiling. A remarkable woman. I'd be quite dead if it were not for her. As it is, I am very much alive. Kinji nodded at the remains of his right arm. I merely spared the ordeal of handling the feet of my father's puppets ever again. Oh, Kinji. The name came out like a sob. Bother. The silly boy's gone soft on me. Yoshida Kinji, son of a line of samurai who picked their teeth when hungry and spit contemptuously into the savage face of pain. At last, within the gates of the Naza, Jiro took charge. Until Okeda sent for him, he would do what he could for his friend. He sent Tiji to fetch Miss Yoshida from her house and Minoru to find Machida. Ueda, who obeyed as though Jiro was his senior, went to get the cold, wet leaves and cloth for fresh dressings and wine to ease the pain. Asako helped Jiro settle Kinji in his quilts. Kinji would get more care than he wanted, with both Asako and Mrs. Yoshida chuckling over him, so Jiro himself went to Yoshida's dressing room. Pardon me for interrupting you, he called softly at the door. There was no answer. Jiro put his head into the room. Yoshida was seated cross-legged at his table, his head in his hands. Master? The puppeteer wiped his eyes in the back of his sleeve. Moshida had already told me, he said gruffly. I sent for a doctor. If he had not gone to look for my mother, Jiro cleared his throat. It's my fault. No, Yoshida said. It is the nature of the boy. He has always spent his spirit the way a profligate son spends his father's wealth. He stumbled on the word father. I feared for him. He swept his arm across the table in a helpless gesture. I fought for him with the only weapons I know, with discipline. Who knows what he might have had? The puppeteer shook his head as if to shake off something that clung there. This is a picture of the three of them walking. I'll hold that for a little bit longer. I was not able to protect him from myself, he finished quietly. Jiro sat in silence. How could a man like Yoshida be comforted? It was a measure of his despair that he had thus opened his heart to an apprentice. The boy kept his eyes on the matting so as to not watch the puppet master's pain. Does Okeda know that you are here? Yoshida broke the silence with the abrupt question. You know what happened between us? I am Okeda's eyes. It is necessary for me to know these things. Will he kill me? Jiro asked. It was a simple question. The terror that he had felt in the dark of the storehouse seemed to have vanished. Yoshida studied him for a moment. Why do you think he wants to kill you? Last night in the storehouse, I don't know. Perhaps he was only trying to frighten me. Perhaps he was trying to test you. He knew you would not betray me because of your loyalty to Kinji. But Kinji is not Okeda's son. He had to know you would not betray him either. Perhaps he had devised a trial. But I ran. You were wrong to run. And I humiliated him. I didn't mean to do that. I was terrified, and I didn't think. Now that you have thought, would you betray us? Yoshida asked softly. For the first time in his life, Jiro deliberately looked Yoshida in the face. Their eyes met like the striking of firestones. Never for myself, Jiro said. But Okeda has taken my father, and my mother is left alone to starve. Yoshida was the first to lower his gaze. Sometime a man must pay a heavy price to maintain his oath, but your mother may stay at the Hanaza until there is no more need for our deception. I can promise you that at least. And Yoshida Kinji? What of Yoshida Kinji? The father asked. If you and my father are sworn to Okeda, you must understand that I am sworn only to Kinji. No man's secret, no man's safety is more dear to me than his. But I have not betrayed Okeda's secret, and I am ready to submit to whatever he chooses to do to me, so long as Kinji does not suffer. I can only guess how deeply I have offended Okeda's honor, Jiro added softly. I am sorry. Once more the man and the boy looked straight into each other's eyes. Now will you excuse me? I need to see how Kinji is. Yes, it was all he said. Despite the woman's protest, Kinji was propped up, regaling the other boys with a comic version of his adventures as a would-be night rover. Every night when I'd sneak out, I'd bump right into this police assistant. First time I was terrified. Those hooked rods of theirs are more potent than those little bamboo toothpicks I'm accustomed to. And then it occurred to me that I had done nothing wrong, at least not yet, and that all I had to do was to be excessively polite. Nobody is polite enough to these fellows. Their rank is so low. I reasoned that the poor fellows would be starved for a little respect. In my politest manner, to anyone else, I would have sounded like the third concubine of a minor court official in a conversation with the emperor. I inquired about his health, a stroke of pure genius, for as it turned out, our little policeman had a terrible cough, and no one, not even his silly wife, had seemed to notice. The pitiful wretch was so grateful for my concern that it was quite touching. The next night I saw him again and went over especially to see if the cough was any better. It wasn't, and again it was so obvious that my concern had won him over that I took to looking at him each time as if I didn't happen to meet him. And let me tell you, it paid off. Last night I was desperately looking for my friend Asako here in the pitch dark, and I ran smack into the policeman who was arresting everyone in sight. I was frightened out of my wits until I heard him coughing. Ah, I said, you poor fellow, I've been looking everywhere for you. You must get out of the night air. It will be your death. Do you know? He put his arms around me and wept. I could hardly rid myself of him in time to continue my mischief. Excuse me for interrupting, Yoshida Kinji. Jiro looked up startled. He had hoped for a little more time. I was told you wanted to see me. Ah, Okeda, you must forgive my unpardonable rudeness, but these women here wouldn't even permit me to walk across the courtyard to your dressing room. It seems I am the victim of mother love. The chanter laughed. His funny, sputtering laugh. Jiro's body stiffened at the sound. He had thought his fear gone, but apparently it had been curled up to rest in a forgotten corner of his mind. Guided by Tozo, the blind man came over to the quilts and knelt down. He felt the cover. You're the lazy one, lolling about in your bedclothes in the middle of the day. Doesn't Yoshida maintain any discipline at all on the west side? Jiro could see that Yoshida was standing in the doorway, but Kinji had not seemed to notice his father's presence, and if Okeda sensed it, he gave no sign. We're in a lamentable state over here, Okeda. I have been thinking seriously of asking you to take me in over on the east side. The way things are going, I'll never amount to anything if I stay over here. I'll speak to Yoshida about it myself, but you must give me time. You know the temper of the man. He can't be approached too carefully. Yoshida coughed. Yoshida, Okeda said, come in. The foolish boy of yours doesn't know when he's well off. He's begging me to take him over to the east wing. What should I do about it? If you want a nasty-tempered stallion Yoshida cleared the huskiness from his throat, who's proved untrainable under a master horseman, you're more than welcome. Besides, Kinji said gently, what rider would waste his time with a three-legged mount? The master puppeteer struggled to control the muscles on his face. Exactly, he said sternly. The creature is useless to me. Take him with my thanks. If I take him like that and make something of him, you'll be sorry to let him go so cheaply, and you'll try to make me pay. No, the voice had recovered its usual angry tone now. No, he's yours if you will have him. I have in my debt a young fellow that I'd be glad to be rid of. Okeda cocked his head toward Jiro in such a way that the boy realized that the blind man had known all along where he was. A messy matter which I won't detail, but I will give you Hanji's son Jiro in exchange for Yoshida Kinji. You lay no further claim on this wild thing, and I'll forget the debt of the other. Is it a bargain? No, Asako cried out. Stop this ridiculous talk, you heartless men. I don't care what the father may have said. Jiro is my son. I won't allow you to discuss these boys as though they were cabbages. It's all right, mother. All the tightness in Jiro's body began to loosen. He gave himself over to relief as a man turns over his weary limbs to the steaming water of his bath. It's all right, really. You mustn't be upset. At the Hanaza, they never talk in a way that ordinary people like you and me can understand, but they mean no harm. Oh, let her worry. Kinji reached his left arm across the quilt to pat Asako's hand. Let her worry. She deserves a little happiness. And that is the end of the book. And I don't love the way it ended at all. I'm not loving the way that book ended at all. I'm kind of disappointed in the ending. It's kind of a bummer.